Welcome to Isla Nublar, home to some of the last remaining dinosaurs. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, a company called Ingen embarked on an ambitious project, bringing dinosaurs back to life for a groundbreaking venture known as Jurassic Park. However, the park ended in catastrophe when a tropical storm and corporate sabotage caused the dinosaurs to break out and attack guests and staff. Ingen faced multiple lawsuits, but most were dropped after the company covered up the corporate sabotage caused by a rogue employee. Officially, the events of 1993 were classified as an act of God, leaving the legal system with little grounds to hold Ingen accountable. However, Ingen was still forced to repay the families that were attacked by the 1993 incident. By the late 1990s, Ingen was on the brink of bankruptcy and was almost liquidated. But then, the Masrani Global Corporation swooped in and bought out Ingen along with all its assets. Simon Masrani, the CEO of Masrani Global and now Ingen, sought to make Hammond's dream a reality once more. This new park would be named Jurassic World. Masrani was very strict about where to open Jurassic World. There were talks about opening the park on Isla Sorna, but Masrani wanted to honor Hammond's last wish and keep Sorna as a nature preserve for the dinosaurs on the island, or in other words, leaving the island alone. Masrani did settle for opening the park on a completely separate island in the Atlantic, but after an incident, the island was subsequently abandoned. With nowhere left to go, Masrani Global decides to open the park on Isla Nublar, where the original park was opened. Now, it has been nearly 20 years since Jurassic Park collapsed, and in the meantime, Isla Nublar's ecosystem has changed dramatically. The dinosaurs of Nublar now roam freely, with nothing stopping them from populating the island. A genetic flaw in the dinosaur's DNA, specifically the introduction of frog DNA meant to prevent reproduction, unexpectedly triggered a side effect. The dinosaurs had developed the ability to breed asexually, meaning they did not need a mate. As dinosaur populations began to rise, a few species unfortunately went extinct, either due to illegal poaching or predation by larger carnivores. Among the lost species were the velociraptor, Maiasaura, Microceratus, and Struthiomimus. Fortunately, a wide variety of dinosaurs remained to populate Jurassic World's attractions. With that introduction out of the way, let's begin with the construction of Jurassic World itself. Guests enter the park via subway systems that span underneath the island, taking them from the coast all the way to the main park. From the entrance, a small path leads to the start of Jurassic World's Main Street. From Main Street, a small facility path branches off to the workers' facilities. Two large power stations are then constructed, and for now, these will supply the park with enough energy to keep it going. In between the two power stations will be the control center, where all operations and management for Jurassic World will take place. A research facility is then constructed. Here, scientists can work towards making a new species of dinosaurs for the park. For now, no new species will be introduced. Along with the research facility, two staff centers are constructed to give the employees places to rest after a long day at work. Then, to finish off the worker facilities, an asset containment unit ranger station and medical facility are constructed. The ACU is a highly specialized team of rangers, expertly trained to handle dinosaur incidents, including breakouts and other emergencies. With the power stations and worker facilities now operational, it's time to start building the main park entrance. First off, a set of amenities is constructed: a restaurant, a drinking establishment, and a toy shop, along with a restroom and an emergency bunker that are located right next to the entrance. A fossil zone attraction is also built. Once the amenities had finished construction, it was time to focus on creating the first dinosaur enclosure of Jurassic World. As the enclosure continues to be constructed, the workers start considering what to put inside. Luckily for them, their answer was nearby. A small herd of Parasaurolophuses and a Triceratops had made their home at a small lake. So, once it was decided, the ACU was sent in via helicopter to tranquilize the dinosaurs. The ACU team quickly tranquilized the Parasaurolophus pack before calling in the transport helicopters. The parasaurs are lifted into the air and flown into their new enclosure. They are swiftly dropped into their new enclosure, and the scientists begin observing them to see their reaction to being housed inside a pen. These parasaurs aren't the same ones from the original park, and thus are not used to being kept inside an enclosure, so the scientists kept a watchful eye on them. By the time the last parasaur was dropped into the enclosure, it seemed like the dinosaurs were content with their new home, so the scientists breathed a sigh of relief. Then, it was time to capture the 3 Triceratops and house them in the same enclosure. Once the trikes had been successfully sedated, they're lifted into the air and flown over into the enclosure. Once they'd been placed inside, the scientists went back to observing them, seeing how both species would tolerate being inside an enclosure. The ACU would be on standby in case of an emergency, such as an escape attempt. By the next morning, the Triceratops and Parasaurs had all appeared to be content with their new enclosure. So, with the first enclosure finished, it was time to move on to the second one. Like the first, the second one will house 2 dinosaur species. The closest species that were nearby were the Edmontosaurs and the Stegosaurs. The ACU is sent in to sedate the Edmontosaurs, and once they're tranquilized, lift them in the air and bring them to their new enclosure. Once the Edmontosaurs are placed into the enclosure, the ACU are sent back out to capture the Stegos. Once the Stegosaurus pack is put into the enclosure, the scientists begin to observe the 2 species to see how well they adjust to an enclosure. They noted how the Edmontosaurs didn't require much attention, while the Stegos were rather needy. 2 complementary personalities between such species fit in just nicely. With the second dinosaur enclosure finished, Jurassic World now had 2 fully operational dinosaur attractions. This would have been enough reason to open the park, much like what the original park had done. However, due to the presence of wild dinosaurs, the opening was pushed back. So until the rest of the remaining dinosaurs are captured and enclosed, Jurassic World would remain closed.